If I die in Atlanta, my work shall only just begin. But I shall live in the physical or the spiritual to see the day of Africa's doom. Look for me in the world and understand. Look for me all around you. For it does grace and blessings. I shall come back and bring with me countless millions of black men and women who have died in America, those who have died in the West Indies, and those who have died in Africa to aid you in a fight for liberty, freedom, and life.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The world today is gone drunk and crazy with its power. And by such cruel injustice, fraud, and lies have crushed the unfortunate. But if I'm apparently crushed by the system of influence and misdirected power, my cause shall rise again to plague the conscience of the corrupt. For this I'm happy to suffer and even die. For I will write the history for the millions that are coming, and leave the posterity to reckon with the host for the deeds of their fathers. If others laugh at you, return the laughter to them. If they mimic you, return it with equal force. They have no more right to dishonor, disrespect, and disregard your feeling of manhood than you have in dealing with them. Honor them when they honor you. Disrespect and disregard them when they fight with you. Their arrogance is but skin deep, an assumption that has no foundation in morals or in law. They are sprung from the same family tree of obscurity as we have. Their history is as rude in its primitiveness as ours. When their ancestors were running wild and naked in trees like monkeys as ours, when we reached the noonday of progress, they were still drinking blood out of the human skulls. After we had unfolded the mystery of the stars and reduced the heavenly constellation to minute and regular calculus, there are still backwards men living in ignorance and in blatant darkness.
Yes, sir.
The world today is indebted to us for the benefits of civilization. They stole our arts and sciences from Africa. Then why should we be ashamed of ourselves? Remember always that the Jew in his political and economic words is always first a Jew. The white man is first a white man under all circumstances, so you can do no less than be black, buy black, and then all else will take care of itself. Let no one inoculate you with evil doctrines to suit their own conveniences. There's no humanity before that which starts at home. That's where charity begins. So force to thyself be true. And thou canst not in the force to any. Being scientifically rigorous, you must treat others only as they treat you. But in your homes and everywhere possible, you must teach the high development of science to your children, so that we can have a race of scientists par excellence. For in science and religion lies our only hope to withstand the evil designs of modern materialism. Like the great church of Rome, black people the world over should practice one faith, and that of confidence in themselves, with one God, one aim, and one destiny. Never forget your God. Remember, we work, pray for the binding of a racial hierarchy, a racial empire whose only natural, spiritual, and political limits shall be God and Africa at home and abroad. Because we are the descendants of a suffering people. We are the descendants of a people determined to suffer no longer. Many men and women as black as I am, and even more so, have believed themselves white under the West Indian era of society. I was simply an impossible man to use openly the term Negro, yet everyone beneath his breath was calling the black man a nigger. I had to decide whether to please my friends and be one of the black whites of Jamaica and the reasonably prosperous, or come up openly and help improve and protect the integrity of the black millions and suffer. I decided future for a people who deny the past. My foreparents, my grandparents, my mother, my father did not suffer and die to give me an education just like oppress or discourage my people. The whatsoever education I acquired out of their sacrifice of over 300 years, I can use for the salvation of the 400 million black people in the world. And they did it when I forsake my people. May God Almighty say, there shall be no more like for you. I unequivocally rejected the racist assumption of much white American Christianity, namely that God had created the black man inferior, that he intended Negroes to be a servant class. He was a well glass of water. I predicated my view of man in the doctrine of Imago Dei. All men, regardless of color, are created in the image of God. From this premise followed the equality of all men and the brotherhood of all men. The biblical injunction of Acts 17:26 reminds us that he created upon blood all nations of men to dwell on the face of the earth. I was most interested in brotherhood within his own ways, because if Negroes are created in God's image and Negroes are black, then God must in some sense be black. If the white man has an idea of a white God, let him worship his God as he desires. We have found a new ideal. Because whereas our God has no color, and yet it is human to see everything through one's own spectacles, and since white people have seen their God through their white spectacles, we have only now started to see our God through our own spectacles. But we believe in the God of Ethiopia, the everlasting God, God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Ghost, the one God of all ages. That is the God in whom we believe. But we shall worship him through the spectacles of Ethiopia. Do you know what it is to be a man? To be a man is to bear the resemblance of the Creator. The image of the Creator. If you are conscious of the fact that you are created in the image of the Creator, then you are a man. You may be a Christian. You may be a Mohammedan. You may be a Rastaman. That is your religion. You entitled to your own religious beliefs. Some of us are Catholics, some of us are Baptists, some of us are Presbyterians. But we deem it a right to adhere to our own particular belief. The white world has always tried to rob and discredit us of our history. They tell us that Tutankhamun, the king that reigned about the year 1350 BC, was not a black man. That the pharaohs was not of our race, but that does not make the truth unreal. Because many students of learning know that we once ruled the world. When white men were barbarians and savages, thousands of our professionals at that time taught in the universities of Alexandria, then the seat of learning. No black man shall be truly respected until the race as a whole has emancipated itself through self-achievement and progress from universal prejudice. We have to have our own government, art, science, culture, literature, before the world will start to consider us. Until then, we are but wards of a superior race and the outcast of a standard social system. Back in the days of slavery, race mixture and miscegenation had occurred because the African woman had no protection from the slave master. So there is no need today for black people to themselves freely continue a practice that smacks so much slavery. Black people should see beauty in one kind and not try to bleach their skin and otherwise look like what they're not. One of our problems historically is that we have always been reacting to initiatives taken by other people. You cannot depend upon another race to free you. That is a basic law of human existence. who then would bear the white man's burden? And I believe that my blood shall bear the remission for which future generations of our race shall be declared free. Freedom of action, freedom of opportunity are things that we need so that we can establish an imperial power to be able to withstand any nation or enemies. Vile thoughts bring vile actions to vile people living in vile times. You could not tell me in the 1920s that 80 years later this world would be infested with neutron bombs, AIDS, homelessness, terrorism, and visible nuclear devastation. However, were I alive today, I would still make sure that my people understand that what we need is self-reliance, self-respect in a world gone crazy with individualism. I never taught racism, but pride and dignity in one's race. With God's dearest blessings, I'll leave you for a while. One love.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's hear another round of applause. Yeah, Bob Semple, the spirit of Marcus Garvey. I was about to say, the folks who are just arriving, you should go get yourself some food back there. Get yourself something to eat. And I just saw Sister Kabibi. Kabibi, can you stand, please? Sister Kabibi, who represents Cobra. And Brother Hotel. Thank you. Wacho, sorry, thank you. Yes. All right. All right, Mama Nia Koba is in the house. Yeah. I want to let you know also that Ron Bob Semple, the brother who just performed The Spirit of Garvey, he's got a CD here on sale. If you love this, and I know you did, the CD costs $10, $10, okay? So you can check that out again. It costs only $10. Remember, freedom ain't free. All right, moving right along to the next item on the agenda. We're going to bring you now some conscious hip-hop. You know, we got to keep it real, keep it current, keep it in the mix. Some conscious hip-hop from the CD Precise Science, featuring Rough Mike and Freedom Rider. Let's hear a round of applause for them, please.
They also have a CD outside, and I'm sure you know it is. Y'all going to definitely get both of their CDs.
Brother, before you start, we would like to ask for the elders in the crowd, man or woman, who wish to speak. We always do that before we perform or before we lecture or before we do anything. We ask permission of our ancestors and our elders. Right now,
We have permission.
Mr. Battle, Brother Farouk, UNIA, members, families, and friends. My name is Rough Mike.
And I'm Freedom Rider.
And together we are Precise Science.
Science.
We have an album out. Everybody's not going to make it. It's $10 in the hallway. Today we've been asked to come to you to bless you with a anthem to Marcus Garvey that we created that is on our album right now. So without further ado,
I'd like to ask, I know you all have enjoyed the evening. I think it's time for you to stand up. You know what? Don't stand there. Let the move, let you be moved to stand. But I will ask you to put your hands together. And I will ask you in chant, as the ancient griots would do. We're here to strengthen African ties and prove that Marcus Garvey is alive. If you are here for the same things, I will ask you to clap your hands. Now, on beat, we're here to strengthen African ties. And we know Marcus is alive. Clap your hands. We're here to strengthen African ties. And Garvey is alive, so clap your hands.
we came to strengthen African ties, but we Marcus alive. Clap your hands. Yeah, come on, clap your hands. Come on, are you here to strengthen African ties and prove Garvey is alive? Clap your hands. Yeah, come on, clap your hands. Clap your hands.
Marcus Mosiah Garvey.
He's our best example of black nationalism. He worked relentless. His mind you couldn't ignore. African world vision, so consistent. It's the template for African independence. So in remembrance of the ships he set sail for trade, the millions of Africans that back the decisions he made. The pathways for my ancestors are walking, and for my hip-hop fans, my name is talking. He gave birth to the Black Mass Organization 1919. You and I association. Black nation really started black cause nurses. I can respect the black man who fixed beneath the surface. Born gift of leadership, strong sense of purpose. Never let a cracker convince Silly's workers. Stand tall, speak the truth, until the land we pissed off. Bitches on a plane so high, ready for lift-off at any moment. We bring the space and the time. We bring the African good. It's like the Black Star Line. Come respect the African mankind. Lobbyites all over the world. Free mind. One people, one mission, one movement, one reason. Why crackers wasn't cool with it. Our harmony, it seems to be their habit. That's the case. Garvey just made a pass.
Those African of Africa, reach you in the name of the University of Human Association and African Community League of the World. You may ask, what organization is that? The United Negro Recruitment Association aims to unite the everybody, the 400 million Africans that are residing in America, that are residing in the Caribbean, in the Pacific, on the continent of Africa, and all over.
Hey, bread for one blood, green for Mother Africa, blacks all over the world. We need to gather under one
Garvey. Let's do one more. We got one more for y'all. This is a libation song. Before I'm sorry, one time. Before committed, Marcus Garvey. Before Harriet Tubman, Nat Turner, Denmark Vesey. Before the middle class. Kidnapping savages, rapes and chains. Before the more civilized Spain. Before the Carthaginians, the Sumerians and Dravidians. Ancient Comedians, renamed Egyptians. Minds that conceived pyramids before time. Original bloodline.
Black people, the first intellect on the planet. Pioneers of civilization, overstand.
Black people.
Children of the sun, blessed with melanin, but we always want to run and get it done.
Black people.
Creators of mad science, astrology, so many kids don't know that.
Black people.
We must rise, accomplish what we will.
Black people.
We not only run rights and shoot the bill, boys for the kill, and take back our legacy. Break the chains and begin mental therapy.
Black people.
We are the chosen people that they speak about. Man, we all can be, so what's the people?
Black people.
The idiots be in control. They try to take your rock like they did rock and roll.
Black people.
Who's in control of your thoughts? Steady killing your own and filling up the cause.
Black people.
The church ain't helped you all this time. Your pastor just purchased a new pimp
Black
ride.
people.
Have love, awareness, and wealth. Follow the H Lord, have knowledge of self. Yes.
Put down the Mickey D's, cheese doodles, and grape soda. Nutritionally, we must mimic the discipline of soldiers and war entrepreneurs and lawyers.
Crack sales on corners, Lord. Simon W. Force for plantation owners.
To get a paycheck, spend on rent, clothes, shopping while crack is still on for homes and the cotton. Have we forgotten?
Deep beneath the third eye, deep beneath the surface. Most of us don't live with it. African birds, we forgot we were kidnapped, killed, enslaved. Most of us think
That's back in the day.
they want to keep this right now. They want to do it again.
Now ask yourself,
When you surrender or defend, you're right to be African, you're right to breathe African, you're right to live African, raise your kid African. I want to get back to our true way of living. Way before all the foreigners invaded women. Our people had no limit. We traveled across the globe teaching. All who wanted to know, partners flow. We will find to a place. I'm trying to break the years of mentalization of my people. I named my son after God. So if I can't leave you, then there's somebody behind.
black people.
I wouldn't say it at all if I didn't love you. Black woman, you all I want, no one above you. The place on before you will be disrespect. I feel the pain you've been through, I'm here to protect.
Protect her, we must, as she has done for us. We trust black women.
Come back to us.
We are ready to confront the calamity and all the ignorance and insanity that is shown by families. Understand, we know you represent one too delicate to neglect. The fertile soil that nurtures seeds and bleeds for generations. The enemy's thesis is black men no longer love and protect. Truth is, we're shattered into pieces. You are destined to collect and resurrect. Remember me. Remember we. Long before Hannibal and the Carthaginians. Before the Sumerians and Dravidians. Before the Atlanteans, before time, the original bloodline. You will find none superior or equal. We are
Black people, once again, fist up, fist up, fist up. If you black, fist up, fist up, fist up.
freedom right.
If you're African, baby, fist up. Thank you so much, brothers and sisters. I am Rough Mike, here's Freedom Fighter. We are Precise Science. We love you all.
Garvey lives.
Precise Science, Rough Mike, Freedom Rider. Let's hear from Precise Science. Yeah. Conscious hip hop. Yes, indeed. Well, right about now, we're going to move things right along because, you know, time is winding down. Are we having fun? Yeah. Are you loving it? Yes. You want some more? Yes. Some more conscious word? Well, the next person I'm going to introduce is a very legendary brother, a brother I revere very much and respect quite a lot. He has written several books. He's a lecturer, teacher, university professor, author, and writer of many books and other such writings, like For Whites Only, and he's done things, writings on fascism. You've heard him speak a lot on WPFW's airwaves about, and some in the drum beat, about the decline of the middle class in this country and of course around the world. And his latest project is to boycott the corporate gas companies and to support Sidracl, Hugo Chavez's gas company. Brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, brethren and sisters, help me to bring to the microphones, again, a very revered and respected and loved brother, Ambrose Lane Sr. of We Ourselves. Ambrose Lane Sr.
Redman Battle, Council General Muhammad. I could have gone home after Brother Simple. I could have gone home. What I'm asked to do is to share some thoughts with you. And I've chosen for a topic, destiny control. You know, throughout history, the ability of humans to exercise control over their destiny has always been limited. Some of those important limitations included the relative harshness of man's physical environment, the relative availability of food and shelter, the availability and spread of knowledge and tools, and the relative ease of effective communications. But as man's knowledge base expanded and his tools increased in sophistication and effectiveness, so did his adaptability and ability to more effectively conquer these limitations and ease their impact on their daily lives. But tragically, just as humans have always used their knowledge and tools to conquer these old limitations, some have used their acquired coercive superiority over other humans to impose their limitations on others and to satiate their greed or thirst for more or greater coercive power. Thus, in this 21st century, much of the human world remains subject to man's oldest limitations, that is, exposure to harsh physical living environments, inadequate access to food resulting in malnutrition and starvation, denial of access to education and knowledge, selective availability of tools, and the teaching of hate and group divisiveness for the purpose of destroying effective communications in a world wherein the capability of effective communication between individuals, groups, and nations has never been easier. Now, those humans who have been overwhelmed by the coercive superiority of other humans have suffered doubly in their attempts to exercise some semblance of destiny control in their lives. First, their freedom to act in their own best interest is constrained by law, by superiority-inferiority customs and mores constituting the belief systems of their temporary conquerors and rulers. Second, their subject status over a period of time produces in many subject people and their leaders a mindset of complicity in support of the system that imposes their inferiority status on them. This double burden thwarts effective movement between destiny control by limiting the leader's vision of possibilities for themselves and the people they lead. Now, throughout Africa and the diaspora, a war is being waged daily. And I refer not to the horrendous physical wars that senselessly destroyed so many millions of lives since independence. That greater war is for the belief system and mindsets of the tens of millions of those in Africa and the diaspora. Now, Marcus Garvey, at an early age, saw all around him the impact of the greater war for the control of the minds and belief systems of his people throughout the diaspora. And he determined he had to be engaged as a warrior in that war. And he understood that many of his own people were complicit in support of the system that imposed their inferiority status on us and grossly limited their own access to opportunities. Yet he chose to act audaciously. How else does one describe his actions? To create an international organization to challenge a worldwide system of oppression that targeted all descendants of Africans, but audacious. And his actions came at a time of heightened racism in this country. The Ku Klux Klan was experiencing its greatest expansion, not just in the apartheid South, but throughout the country, and especially in middle American states such as Indiana, which became the center for Klan membership in this country. And that expansion included hundreds of elected officials at all levels of government. And they came at a time when white America was determined to make certain that black soldiers returning from World War I, having fought in a war that was supposed to make the world safe for democracy, would understand that there would be no democracy or better opportunities for them and theirs in this country. 25 major white riots against black communities took place in every part of the country in 1919 and 1920. And many black soldiers were lynched while still wearing their uniforms. And in the year following the end of World War I, 70 blacks were lynched in this country. Now, what was phenomenal about the Marcus Garvey impact on the world was the fact that he organized tens of thousands of Africans and African descendants in the diaspora with what? His mind, his passion, and his organizing skills. There was no television, no internet at that time. Marcus Garvey knew his people, and his people knew him. His words and actions told them he understood their anger and their desire to remove themselves from under the white system of apartheid that crushed them and their children daily. And the power of his words reached even the best educated blacks and those most complicit with the apartheid system. Equally important, his audacity reached the poets and musicians and writers. And even when he and his movement were under a legal cloud, he inspired important members of the Harlem Renaissance. Even his foe, Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois, was amazed at the reach of his audacity. And here's what Du Bois had to say about it. He said, "It was a grandiose and bombastic scheme, utterly impracticable as a whole, but it was sincere and had some practical features. And Garvey," said Du Bois, "proved not only an astonishingly popular leader, but a master of propaganda. Within a few years, news of his movement, of his promise and plans reached Europe and Asia and penetrated every corner of Africa." That comes from a foe. Kwame Nkrumah said, "Of all the literature I studied, the book that did more than any other to fire my enthusiasm was the philosophy and opinions of Marcus Garvey." In fact, Nkrumah named Ghana's own steamship company the Black Star Line and praised Marcus Garvey as the spiritual father of Ghana. Now, the power of Garvey's words that stirred black racial identity was the inspiration for what became known as the Harlem Renaissance and led to the emergence of such black writers as Claude McKay, who referred to Garvey as the Negro Moses, Richard Wright, Langston Hughes, and others. And as Hughes said, and I quote, "We younger Negro artists who who create now intend to express our individual dark-skinned selves without fear or shame. And none other than Adam Clayton Powell, Congressman Adam Clayton Powell, credited Garvey with shaping many of his views. And what was the central Marcus Garvey message? My interpretation, destiny control. He said, 250 years we have been a race of slaves. Now we propose to end all that. No more fear, no more cringing, no more sycophantic begging and pleading. The Negro must strike straight from the shoulder for manhood rights and for full liberty. Destiny leads us to that freedom, that liberty, that will see us as men among men, that will make us a great and powerful people. Destiny control. And how did we lose destiny control? And how do we avoid its loss again? Well, 2 days before George Bush ordered us into Iraq, I viewed with utter disbelief the arrogance of George Bush and the people he was meeting with. And they were Jose Maria Aznar of Spain, Jose Manuel Barroso of Portugal, Tony Blair of the United Kingdom. And you know, ever since that day, I've waited for somebody in the establishment press, whether it's print or electronic media, to interpret for the world what that meeting was about. Because they met in the Azores. Now, what does that mean? Well, the Azores was first colonized by the Portuguese. This was the first thrust of the enslavement and the decimation of peoples in the southern hemisphere of the world. First colonized by the Portuguese in 1439. Now, Portugal was one of the first European countries to begin that search for wealth, for gold, and the imagined riches involved in the spice trade. They sought to find the best way to get to India. In succeeding years, Portugal would challenge the then claim of Spain and the Pope to be the owner of all the lands discovered west of the Atlantic Ocean. Now, Portugal finally entered into a treaty in 1494 limiting Spain's rights and claims and reserving for Portugal ownership claims to the lands which became Brazil, for example. The treaty also gave Portugal legal rights to explore all of Africa and the seaways to India. In the 1500s, Portugal defeated Muslim naval forces and gained control of the sea trade, which became a major source of its wealth as it controlled the Persian Gulf and the gateway from the Indian Ocean to Southeast Africa, as well as the Gulf and shores of Indian Ceylon. It substantially controlled what became known as the Oriental trade until the 17th century. Then in 1580, Spain, the greatest naval power of the then world, occupied Portugal. And Philip was crowned King Philip I. Spain ruled as an occupying force in Portugal until driven out in 1640. Now these two countries, singly and jointly, wreaked havoc in the lands they occupied and on the people of those lands throughout the southern hemisphere of the world, using their superior weapons of mass destruction to steal all the wealth that they could steal and to kill as many people as they felt necessary. They genocidally slaughtered the native humans that occupied those lands and carried out an extensive trade in slaves, forcing those humans to work free while enriching themselves on the wealth they stole from their countries. That slave trade and genocidal slaughter reached its zenith under the successor nations of Britain and America. So they're the four countries that impose their will because of their superior military force on all of the nations of the southern hemisphere, all the brown and black people in the southern hemisphere. You cannot understand the diaspora unless you understand what these four nations did. Portugal, Spain, Britain, and America. And here they were, 2 days before invading Iraq, meeting in the Azores, in the place that was first occupied by one of these countries, to tell the world that they were getting ready to invade Iraq. But they were saying more than that. They were saying, we are about the business of recolonization of the world. And we will use the military power of the United States of America to do it. And nobody picked up on it. To this day, this was in 2003, to this day, no newspaper that I'm aware of, and I read at least 5 newspapers a day, and no television has told the people of the world what they were doing there 2 days before they invaded. Destiny control. Now, his last book before his death, Judge A.V.I. Higginbotham cited a quote from the late Richard Wright, one of the products of Marcus Garvey's movement, who in the 1940s wrote these words. He wrote, "White America has reduced Negro life in our great cities to a level of experience of so crude and brutal a quality that one could say of it, in the words of Zaikal Lindsay's The Leaden Bag, that it is not that they starve, but that they starve so dreamlessly. It is not that they sow, but that they seldom reap. It is not that they serve, but they have no gods to serve. It is not that they die, but they die like sheep." Think of what's happening in major cities across this country and across the world. And what the corporate world is doing to the world. Now, Wright wrote those words more than 50 years ago. Yet, they still apply to many of us throughout the diaspora today. And many of us are complicitous in their hopeless desperation, in their excruciatingly painful but accurate assessment of their minuscule opportunities to exert any semblance of control over their destinies. While millions dreamlessly starve, seldom reap what they sow, and die like sheep, we engage in mindlessly sophisticated drivel about the relative merits of the gods of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. And some of us kill, maim, and dismember others of us in the name of our more meritorious God. Others of us enslave and sell others also in the name of some God or just for profit. The worldwide savagery in the name of religion has been so gruesome that one is often tempted to conclude, as did Ayekwe Ama in his book 2000 Seasons, and he wrote, "We are not Christians that we should invent fables a child would laugh at and harden our eyes to preach them daylight and deep night as truth.
We are not so warped in soul. We are not Arabs. We are not Muslims to fabricate a desert God-chanting madness in the wilderness and call our creature creator. That is not our way. Our way is reciprocity. Our way is wholeness. Our way knows no oppression. Our way destroys oppression. Our way is hospitable to guests. Our way repels destroyers. Our way produces before it consumes. Our way produces far more than it consumes. Our way creates. Our way destroys only destruction. For those insane ones among us who chose the path of death, it is clear that they have learned well in choosing to make the same choices made by their former enslavers and rulers and have become as evil as they. Just as we spoke truth about the evil perpetrated by their former rulers, we must speak truth about the evil of their imitators among us, for evil is evil no matter whom it is practiced. We must speak truth about those who are complicitous with such evil, for that complicity helps to destroy the possibilities and probabilities of destiny control for our present and future generations. And creating those positive possibilities and probabilities for our children and their children through many generations is our solemn obligation, individually and collectively. You know, they've created a language. So when you say that Dr. King's assassination was the result of a conspiracy, or when you say that Marcus Garvey's imprisonment was the result of a conspiracy, they say that we are conspiracy theorists. Yet group oppression always involves a conspiracy. Even Abraham Lincoln could clearly see a conspiracy in the worsening conditions of African Americans in the 1850s and spoke about it after the United States Supreme Court's decision in the Dred Scott case. And this is what he said. Listen to his words carefully. He wrote, "All the powers of earth seem rapidly combining against him." He's talking about our people. "Mammon is after him. Ambition follows. And the theology of the day is fast joining the cry. They have him in his prison house. They have searched his person and left no prying instrument with him so that he can escape. One after another, they have closed the heavy iron doors upon him. And now they have him, as it were, bolted in with a lock of 100 keys, which can never be unlocked without the concurrence of every key. The keys in the hands of 100 different men, and they scattered to 100 different and distant places. And now they stand musing as to what invention in all the dominion of mind and matter can be produced to make the impossibility of his escape more complete than it is. Destiny control. How do we capture the imagination of young people to get them to believe they have a hand in shaping their own future? That all is not hopelessness and drugs and prison. The answer is both simple and complex. We, this generation, must act. We must act, and they must see us act audaciously, repeatedly, in a planned, focused manner, providing a financial start in life for them, coupled with support and encouragement from birth. We must act and they must see us act to challenge every thrust by the racist institutional system against their well-being, protecting them and explaining to them why the system is attacking them and us. We must act and they must see and hear us act to throttle ostentatious cripples and parasitic elders among us who are not willing to convert our churches and temples and mosques into learning centers that will teach them our special history. It is insane complicity in our own oppression to continue to teach our children in our churches and temples and synagogues, institutions we own and control, more about Arab, the Quran, about Jewish, the Bible, history, than about our own. That's insane. We have our children run around quoting David, and I mean, even the Jews have come out last year and said David was a leader of a little tribe. He wasn't no great king. But in our churches, we continue to hear the same stuff. They must be learning centers, not just a place for emotional catharsis once a week. And we do not need to continue to waste precious money in lavish buildings that enrich others. We need functional buildings dedicated to training the intellect and psyche, promoting confidence and unchallenged self-worth, and an unalterable belief that the engagement of one's intellect combined with planned effort can produce positive results in one's life. Every child in every church, every synagogue, every temple that we own, when that child is born, a $1,000 account should be set up in that child's name, untouchable until that child is 18 or 20 years of age. And we ought to make sure that we contribute to that account for those children every year. And that we explain to them what we're doing and why we're doing it. But we don't do that. We neglect our future. You know, development requires at least three things. I'm about to through. First, it requires land or money. Secondly, it requires human resources and talent. And thirdly, it requires access to capital. Now, the first two are in plentiful supply throughout the diaspora. There's plenty of land and property. There's plenty of human resources and capital. What is needed is the third, access to capital. Finally, providing a financial starting life for succeeding generations cannot free those generations from today's global kill and destroy insanity, unless we also nurture their spiritual immune systems. And my use of the word spiritual does not refer to their and our religious formulation, for that path has helped lead us to the current insanity. Arnold's formulations, although reflecting a non-existent past reality, points to a spiritual path on which an enlightened humanity should travel. On that path, future generations could strengthen their spiritual immune systems by arming themselves with the values of reciprocity and wholeness, of being hospitable to all humans, of first producing a surplus before consuming, and of being creators. Equally important, they would learn and inculcate a passion to destroy, to render harmless only oppression and destruction. That is a path of spiritual honor and human concern for the well-being of humanity. Destiny control, which was practiced by Marcus Garvey throughout his life, must be our battleground for this century. Thank you so much.
Brother Ambrose Lane Sr. Yes, indeed, we ourselves. Yeah, Ambrose Lane Sr. We ourselves at WPFW 89.3 FM every Monday and Friday, 10 a.m., 10 to 11 a.m. We would like to let you know that there is a CD available here for $10. Marcus Garvey, a DVD, I'm sorry, the DVD, Marcus Garvey and the Harlem Renaissance, the one you saw earlier on. Again, that is Marcus Garvey and the Harlem Renaissance. Marcus Garvey, In the Whirlwind. Also, next Saturday, the 9th, ADASI, that is the African Diaspora Ancestral Commemoration Institute. That's the acronym for ADASI. They present their 15th anniversary commemoration, the healing power of the word, the unspoken and spoken word, messages from the ancestors. That takes place at Howard University Library Center, the digital auditorium. Again, that is next Saturday, the 9th, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. There will be a film and audience discussion, healing passage, voices from the water by S. Pearl Sharp, youth poetry workshop, youth poetry presentation, and lots of information, entertainment, and some entertainment there for you. Featuring people like Hiru, Laina Mataka, Willie Smith, Amina Walker, and others. Master drummer Baba Ngoma. Commentary by Haile Garima. Musical performance by Brother R. Again, that is the next Saturday, and there will be a community altar ceremony and an awards presentation. Of course, there will be food available. You can catch ADASI at www.adaci.net or 202-581-4337. Yes, don't forget also, tomorrow, like I said earlier, starts WPFW's Spring Membership Drive. We urge you, don't forget to call and make pledges of support to your favorite programs and to the station in general. Well, without further ado, moving right along to the next item on the program. We would like for you to help me to bring on stage, accompanied by Brother Zaya Spencer and Atiba of Proverbs Reggae Band. She's going to give us some spoken word. Sister Kim Y. Bey. Round of applause.
As I tell you this story, I feel like fighting to see how my brothers and sisters are dying. And I'm not talking about natural causes. Only Jah can help us with these trials and crosses. Look how they lynched us in the trees. With their engineered disease.